So I was in Nepal, teaching English at a monastery. Now, in Nepal, just taking the bus or crossing the road can be terrifying, but this story has probably been the sketchiest situation I've been in a foreign country. I went out one night to the center of Kathmandu to meet some other international volunteers for dinner. We had a lovely meal, then split up to go home. I hailed a cab and told him to take me to Swayambhu. Now, in Kathmandu there is an area of the outskirts called Swayambhu, and my monastery was just up the mountain from there. There is also the famous Swayambhu Nath temple, which, as I was obviously a foreigner and probably a tourist, he assumed I meant. So he takes me there, and it takes me until I've got out and walked 10 meters to realize I'm in the wrong place. My inner socially awkward penguin comes out and I feel too embarrassed to go back and explain the problem, plus paying for another taxi and so on. Anyway, I decide that as the two places are relatively close by, I'll just walk the rest of the way home. I start off down the road that looks most like it's going the right direction, but half a km of unlit streets littered with half-sleeping wild dogs later, on the flat when I should be going downhill, I realize I'm going the wrong way. Sigh. Back to the temple. I think I should find somewhere where I can see the monastery on top of the hill before I start heading off in some random direction, as there are too many trees and high buildings around for me to get my bearings, so I set off down the road that rings the base of the temple. After another couple of 100 meters, I start to hear some loud drunken shouting in English. Some man talking about all the communists he killed in the war. You show me communist, I kill him. He's some Nepali man, probably 30, sitting on the steps of a closed store drinking some spirit straight from the bottle with two of his friends. He sees me, stands up and bizarrely after his English rant says something to me in Nepalese. Again, I am very obviously a young white person, while coming towards me doing the classic arms a bit out I want to fight you swagger I've seen assholes across the globe doing. A bit bewildered, I just replied no. But it came out surprisingly assertive and he stopped. I quickly hopped up a side road leading back into the temple, breathing a sigh of relief that I'd somehow managed to avert a fight. This was cut short, however, when I saw a rabid-looking wild dog staring straight at me from the lip of the hill, growling. I roared at him, and he scampered off, in the direction I needed to go. Fine then, I thought, and followed him, while he barked at me, retreating in the face of an occasional roar. Another mangy mutt appeared in an alley. I continued. The first came closer, I growled and mimed throwing a stone, and he fled again past the small flight of steps leading up the side of the temple. I took this opportunity in the higher ground to see if I could at last glimpse my goal. There it was, the monastery, lit by red aircraft warning lights around the rim. I can't really describe the fear of being lost in a foreign city unless you've been there, but trust me when I say I was relieved to finally know where I was going. But my trouble isn't done yet. Waiting at the bottom of the steps for me is good old Muttley, who has been constantly barking at me as I surveyed the surroundings. With renewed resolve from seeing the objective, I decided to take him head-on. I grabbed a handful of rocks and scared him off once again. In the direction I need to go. And this time, he had friends. As I came back onto the road, I noticed that his yapping was drawing in dogs from around the area. They started appearing on low-hanging corrugated roofs, over low walls, out of nearby alleys, until I had a pack barking at me from every angle. Understandably, I had no intention of becoming a meal, so I broke out one side and fucking ran, pausing only once or twice to loose a volley or a kick at any that got too close, until my superior Homo sapiens endurance left them panting behind me. I then went through creepy as fuck templewoods with broken statues, ruined buildings and strange drumming, came out the other side and realized it was coming from a nightclub, at the bottom of my monastery's hill. Home. Fast forward a year later, and me and a friend are walking through a secluded part of my home city, smoking a nice fat joint. Some idiot has left his gate open and the area-renowned Alsatian guard dog sprinted out to apprehend us slackers. I had a Nepal flashback and roared at the top of my voice at him, the sound echoing around the valley, causing my friends to shit himself, figuratively, and the dog to run back home with his tail between his legs, literally. We then pass his home on the way back, and for the first time ever there was not one sound from the other side of the fence.